From a minor outbreak in the Chinese city of Wuhan to an epidemic and now to a global pandemic. The COVID-19 virus has landed on Kenya's doorstep, triggering a flurry of measures to contain its spread among the country's 47 million people. The coronavirus has not only united the country but the world in efforts towards stemming the tide and impact of the deadly disease. In Kenya, school has been suspended, public gatherings are limited, and business is taking a hit. But amid the pandemonium that has seen 7 people infected and more under observation here at home, necessity is proving to be the driver of innovation as resilient Kenyans seek ways to survive this unknown disease and the world works overtime to find a cure. On Team Coverage Wednesday, we pull out all the stops in exploring this uncharted territory, that is the COVID-19 pandemic, the impact it's having on livelihoods, and how we are adapting in these unprecedented times. Good evening and welcome to NTV Tonight, this 18th day of March 2020. The top stories.
Tonight, the number of confirmed cases jumps to 7, and now the government has stepped up the war against the virus.
Must sign a legal form to confirm that they are going to self-quarantine themselves, which gives us the instruments to actually jail you if you do not follow the procedure.
Also tonight, the pandemic burrows deeper into our society, shattering daily life. Team Coverage tonight digs deeper into the staggering cost of the crisis. Plus, the state takeover of the capital is complete. Who is the new man in charge?
Will be headed by Major General Mohammed Abdallah Badi.
And also tonight, the economy is in ill health. The president and players in the financial sector prescribe some pain reliever.
The banks will seek to provide relief to borrowers on their personal loans.
NTV Tonight with Smriti Vidyarthi.
Welcome to our broadcast tonight. Our sign language interpreter is Flora Atieno. Let's now bring out the team to unpack the COVID-19 pandemic for you tonight. Here in Nairobi is our consulting editor, Joseph Warungu, and also Lillian Kiare, Eunice Omolo, Victor Kiprop, and Leila Mohammed. We're also joined by Kevin Mutai from Mombasa, Lois Wangoi from Eldoret, and Bridget Ngana in Nakuru. We'll focus on team coverage shortly, but first, the countrywide tally of the confirmed cases of the coronavirus has risen to 7. There are fears that these numbers could blow up. There are many who've come into the country and are not sticking to laid down procedures on self-isolation, and many more who may have come into contact with them and are not in the know. NTV's Kennedy Mureithi begins our broadcast.
The Ministry of Health today announced 3 new cases of coronavirus, all imported, and that were detected at the National Influenza Center. One of the cases came into the country as late as yesterday and was detected at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
The threat from Kenyans who are coming from overseas.
According to Health CS Mutai Kagwe, the patient had a high fever.
The first 2 cases related to these 3 that I've just mentioned are a couple that had traveled from Madrid, Spain on the 4th of March 2020 through Dubai, arriving in the country on the 5th of March. The third case among the 3 that I have now mentioned involves a Burundian national who had traveled from Dubai to Kenya, arriving on the 17th of March 2020
In his daily brief, the CS also emphasized that measures were already in place to arrest the rampant spread of the disease, as the ministry now confirms it has about 100 people on its radar and who may have come into contact with the confirmed cases. He also says they may be roaming about anywhere in the country. The CS also confirms that there are patients under treatment. Others who are responding to medication will be sent home to self-quarantine.
18 cases are currently admitted at Vidyarthi Isolation Center. 7 others have been screened out and are negative. Samples from the remaining 11 suspected cases are currently being processed in our 2 designated laboratories.
As at now, we are following 85 contacts actively, and we'll be giving you updates on the outcome of the contacts that we are following.
However, the government, especially the Ministry of Health and health workers handling the coronavirus patients, whether confirmed or suspected cases, has come under sharp criticism after a patient, a 23-year-old lady, was released on Sunday from Mbagathi after being given a clean bill of health. She would later be readmitted with coronavirus-like symptoms.
There was a patient who was in Mbagathi and apparently left the facility. And through the security apparatus in the country, we were able to trace the patient to wherever she was, and we brought her back into Mbagathi and tested. Of course, it was positive, and we have traced the contacts of this particular patient.
With the numbers of confirmed cases starting to swell, there are growing calls for the government to shut down public transport. The CS, however, says the government is exploring other avenues to keep Kenyans on mass transit safe.
We don't want to stop anybody because people have to go and get some food. People have to go and get provisions for their houses. So up to this time, we have not said that we are stopping completely. Of course, if the situation were to warrant it, then we would have to take that action.
The public transport sector is one of those that is being keenly watched by the government as it puts in place measures that will ensure that those who are traveling in them are not at risk of contacting the coronavirus. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV in Nairobi County.
Well, any Kenyan who refuses to self-quarantine despite showing symptoms of the coronavirus, or anyone who jets in from one of the affected countries and does not self-quarantine, will face jail time. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says these are part of the measures the government is putting in place to control the spread of the virus and treat the already confirmed cases. NTV's Silas Apollo reports now on what appears to be a script borrowed from some of the worst-hit countries like China.
As the virus sweeps across much of the world, the government announced additional measures aimed at reducing the spread of the virus, already on our doorstep. Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says the new measures target people suspected to have the symptoms, either as travelers jetting into the country or those already in the country.
It is now clear that the threat that we face, first and foremost, is the threat from Kenyans who are coming from overseas, or Kenyans who have visited overseas countries.
The CS says that as such, refusing to self-quarantine will attract jail time, a script that appears to have been borrowed from some of the worst-hit countries like China, but whose figures of new infections have been declining with time.
And effective today, any Kenyan who is traveling from outside the country must sign a legal form at the airport, must sign a legal form to confirm that they are going to self-quarantine themselves, which gives us the instrument to actually jail you if you do not follow the procedure.
In China, authorities have been forced to impose self-isolation in a bid to tame the spread of the virus. Places that host large crowds like malls have also been forced to scale up their preventive measures, something the Chinese government now attributes to the declining figures.
At one time, 1.4 billion Chinese were self-quarantining. In Wuhan alone, there was a forcible quarantine of about 60 million people. So let's put things in perspective and tell our citizens that if those people can do it, why can't we infuse discipline within ourselves and do the same?
The World Health Organization, on the other hand, said on Tuesday that progress was being made to reduce the spread of the virus in vulnerable countries like Africa.
We cannot stop this pandemic if we don't know who is infected. We have a simple message for all countries: test, test, test.
Silas Apollo, NTV.
All right, well, our coverage of the coronavirus pandemic continues in detail in a moment. But first, an update on the state of the capital, and Major General Abdallah Mohammed, a Kenya Air Force officer, has taken over the administration of Nairobi County. As the national government completed the takeover of the county, he will head the newly created Nairobi Metropolitan Services, whose core job will be to, among other things, ensure service delivery in the capital resumes. Ken Mujungu has the details.
The Nairobi City County Assembly has been notified of the transfer of the specified functions.
A recital by the Attorney General, Kihara Kariuki, followed by an exchange of legal instruments between the governor of Nairobi County and the cabinet secretary in charge of devolution, Eugene Wamalwa. This ceremony, convened at State House, marks the end of the process to take over the administration of the capital and the beginning of a new order at the county of Nairobi. The city will now be under what will be known as Nairobi Metropolitan Services. The man in charge, a Major General, an Air Force officer, Abdallah Mohammed Mbadi. He will be deputized by Enos Onyango Momanyi.
What we are doing is not a favor. It is a service, and we must provide it. And we cannot turn back.
Last month, Mike Mbuvi Sonko handed over a number of important services to the national government. Today, he officially signed them over to the national government. Major General Abdallah Mohammed will, effective immediately, begin to exercise those powers and, together with other agencies, restore the glory of Nairobi, which the president admits has been lost.
Unfortunately, the creation of the Nairobi Regeneration Committee proved to be an inadequate measure, as it was incapable of effectively taking charge and directing the changes that needed to be implemented.
The Nairobi Metropolitan Services will now have another stab at dismantling cartels and ending endemic corruption at City Hall. In 100 days, this new team must ensure that the city is clean through garbage collection. The president was specific on the use of county garbage collection trucks as opposed to private collectors. The team also has to ensure they review major development projects and plan how they will take off, fast-track development approvals by various investors, and recover grabbed county land, among other obligations.
And I look forward to seeing positive results in the shortest possible time.
The team also has to ensure they review major development projects and plan how they will take off, fast-track development approvals by various investors, and recover grabbed county land, among other obligations. Mike Mbuvi Sonko, however, retains his position as the governor and will spend more time clearing his name in court of corruption charges facing him. His role in the county will largely be ceremonial. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
All right, from that, let's get back to our team coverage now and bring up the team that are going to zero in on our focus tonight. And that focus is what everybody is talking about, the coronavirus. Our team will be covering that case from all angles. But first, here now is a map behind me of all the countries affected by the pandemic. This is the global perspective. These red dots indicate that these are the countries that are affected by the coronavirus. Now, the global coronavirus cases have passed 200,000. The global death toll from the virus pandemic hit 8,000 today. Now, of these deaths, 3,422 are in Europe, where the pandemic is spreading most rapidly, and that is here. And that is why on this map you see the most dots, red dots, and also some of the biggest as well. We move to Asia, where 3,384 deaths have been reported. And here you go again, the biggest circle there. And remember that Asia is where the outbreak actually originated. Now, in the South Asian subcontinent, though, numbers are still below 500, but there are fears that a spike could overwhelm health systems there. Let's now move you to the United States, and here we are over here, a fairly large dot. Now, the coronavirus has hit all 50 US states as deaths rise there. And also the US-Canada border is set to close amid the virus crisis. All right, now let's bring you closer to home. And here we go, Africa. The latest here in Kenya, as we mentioned earlier, 7 cases have been reported. South Africa still have cases. There are a few countries that have no red dots. That includes Chad, Niger and Mali, as well as a few other countries. But really at this point, eventually they say that the majority, if not all countries across the globe will be affected. So that's a global outlook, but let's narrow down and bring us closer to home now. Leila Mohammed kicks off by taking a closer look at what exactly COVID-19 is.
Well, Smriti, this virus that has hit and become a pandemic first was reported in China's Wuhan city in December 2019. To date, it has infected 200,000 people, killed about 8,000, with 82,000 reported recoveries across the globe. So what exactly is this COVID-19? I spoke to an epidemiologist and a virologist to understand this epidemic that has literally and virtually brought the world to a standstill.
Coronaviruses as a group are a group of viruses which affect both humans and animals, and they largely cause respiratory illness.
One of the major differences is that this outbreak is caused by a new virus that has not affected human beings before.
In humans, the coronaviruses which are now known to affect humans are 6. 4 of them cause mild respiratory illness, what we refer to as common cold, but there are 3 which have been associated with large epidemics.
This particular one is totally new, being suspected of jumped species from animals to man, and for that reason, no one has prior immunity to it, because no one.
But by far, the large majority of persons do not get severe disease. So it's not, as some people might think, it's a death sentence.
As at March 18th, 2020, reports show that the Chinese city of Wuhan is gradually getting back to near normal life after months of a total lockdown caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Scientists say the doctors had warned of a SARS-like viral disease that they believe stemmed from something sold at the wet market. After weeks of investigation, it was discovered that it originated in a bat and somehow hopped to another animal, probably a pangolin, which then passed it to humans.
The current drive of this outbreak is not it's not by animals, it's by man to man or between human beings. It's that I get infected and I infect other humans.
Scientists have dispelled rumors and myths that hotter temperatures and the skin color of an individual will play a key role in boosting his or her immunity against COVID-19. But what they are now saying is that there is a race against time to find a cure to ensure that COVID-19, that was called a pandemic just last week, can be cured.
That is because even for other viruses, although we've not studied the effect of temperature on this current COVID-19 virus, it belongs to a family of viruses, about 40 other viruses called coronaviruses. And we've seen that they can survive for hours, even in very hot temperatures on the surface.
Doctors have given it symptoms which they note can sometimes be similar to those of the common cold or flu.
The disease will present largely with a dry cough and fever, and also people will feel tiredness. And in some instances, it can be severe.
So no one is resistant to this infection. Anyone can be infected. The only difference, and this brings me to your third part of your question, as to what is the issue with people above 70, is the fact that people who are older are at a greater risk of severe illness.
And those who have underlying conditions like diabetes.
Whilst a cure and vaccine is being sought, scientists say that the best strategies for preventing transmission of this disease include overall good personal hygiene.
The worry of the health system is that although we're talking about a small proportion who get severe disease and require hospitalization, if that number is so great in a short time, then it can overwhelm the health system.
Those who may already have the infection have been advised to wear a surgical mask in public. Social distancing measures are also recommended to prevent transmission.
Now, one of the many ways to reduce the number of infections anywhere in this world at this moment is by ensuring that you sustain or maintain high levels of hygiene by sanitizing and cleaning your hands. But in many parts of this country, there is one particular commodity that Kenyans so badly need, and they have lack of it at the moment, and this is water. Bridget Ngana dug deeper into this issue and the lack of water and the dangers it poses to the health of many Kenyans at risk. Bridget.
Washing your hands with soap and running water has been touted as the first line of defense against the coronavirus. However, this may be a tall order for over 20 million Kenyans who lack access to clean, safe water. Take a look. At this watering point at Mwisho Walami Elementaita, the batches of jerrycans waiting to be filled is perhaps the clearest indicator of the magnitude of the problem, that is, accessing clean water. Jane Chirono is amongst those who have to carry out this daily routine. It is the only way she can ensure that her family has enough water for domestic consumption in this water-scarce area of Nakuru town.
So unajua watu wanadepend kwa matangi na sana sana hapa. So shida ya maji sana hapa, mnaweza pewa mtungi 5.
She, alongside other residents here, are well aware of the threat of the coronavirus infection. They also know that hand washing with soap is the first line of their defense against this virus. But they say they can't strictly carry out this preventive measure since water here is a rare commodity.
Unaona tukaa sisi hapa sasa vile tuko na shida ya maji, hatuwezi tukasema tutaosha sana. Kwa sababu kuja hapa umepewa mitungi ngapi? 5. Na hujui kama kesho utapata. Sasa unaona utafuata hiyo sheria yenye serikali inasema uoshe mkono kila saa, huwezi.
Kuna watu wenye hawana matangi wanategemea hii maji. Kama sasa hiyo imenyesha ndio sasa saizi wanatumia saizi. Ikiisha hawana pa kwenda. Ni hapa tu wanakimbilia.
The Water Services Regulatory Board indicates that Kenya has a 55% safe water coverage, which translates to 1 million connections. But for more than half of the Kenyan population, this is just a pipe dream reserved for a few.
Ngine mahali mtu wako na tangi yake ukienda hata yeye amemaliza maji. Na ukijua ni kununua tunanunua kwa mtungi shilingi 50.
While Nakuru County has stepped up its readiness to deal with coronavirus cases at the Nakuru Level 5 hospital, little can be said of the county's efforts at creating public health awareness on hand washing or the provisions to ensure residents without access to water get the commodity. But the governor says plans are underway.
We are working on a plan to supplement water through tanking. We have vehicles that can take tanks into specific designated areas. But it is also true we cannot reach everybody, but we will also do our part. We have also encouraged other institutions, including churches, schools, and any other public entity. The least you can do to the people around you is just to provide a place to wash their hands. We also urge for better conservation of water more than any other time before. Because if this condition was to be there for another 6 months, then you can be sure that we'll be in serious trouble if we don't manage our water resource.
Despite government efforts to create awareness on the coronavirus, the battle might still not be won without water. More and more livelihoods continue to feel the heat of this global pandemic. Kevin Mutai takes a look at what measures the government has put in place and how they are affecting the common wananchi.
Bridget's almost 80% of Kenyans earn a living from the informal sector, much of which has been greatly affected by some of the necessary measures put in place to flatten the tide of the coronavirus infections in Kenya. Here in Mombasa, the tourism, hospitality and entertainment industry, which employs tens of thousands, if not more, is feeling the pinch. Take a look. On any other day, the Jomo Kenyatta Public Beach in Mombasa would be teeming with tourists, both local and foreign. But now the beach is clearly a ghost town. The coming of coronavirus into Kenya has cleared the beaches of human traffic, and those who depend on this industry are feeling the pinch.
Kila siku na hapa ndio unakunywa pita riski yako, mtoto anakula. Sasa ameregeshwa nyumbani, kelele nyumbani, watoto wataka chakula. Asubuhi imetoka na rudi nyumbani bila chochote. Watakula kula wapi?
Businesses that are tied to the tourism industry here at the beach, food kiosks, entertainment joints, amongst others, have been closed indefinitely, with owners staring at grim days ahead because they cannot find customers. Boat operators are also feeling the pinch, sending shockwaves to the entire tourism industry, which is now struggling to stay afloat. Police are making regular patrols to ensure that the ban is adhered to.
Is a global problem. Waelewe tu kwamba tunafanya hivi ili kuzuia maambukizi, kuzuia madhara peke yake.
The situation is also likely to spike the rate of unemployment because hundreds of youth depend on the beach for their livelihoods. They, like others across the country, are keeping their fingers crossed that the government interventions will work and the situation will stabilize and return to normal sooner rather than later.
Wacha watu wafanye kazi, lakini iliyoko kuna utaratibu wetu wa kazi ambapo yani sisi wenyewe tunaweza kukaa tukajiorganize na tukajipanga kikazi.
The hotel and hospitality industry has also taken a hit, with bookings plummeting, and the resultant impact is only beginning to be felt on those employed in the sector.
Tulikuwa tumejaa kabisa. In fact, wakati wa Easter tarehe 10 mpaka 12 tulikuwa overbooked. Between jana na leo zote room isipokuwa 2 zimekanseliwa na zingine zimepostponiwa.
The outbreak has presented a situation few people, if any, had anticipated. So what happens when you can't access your place of work? How do you ensure business continuity during a lockdown? So far, technology hasn't answered all of the questions. But as my colleague Victor Kiprop found out, is the only answer we have for now.
Hi, this is my agile office for the day. Come in and have a look.
When Justin Apsi, Unilever East Africa's managing director, welcomed us to his house in Karen, Nairobi, the reality of how much the coronavirus outbreak has interrupted the running of day-to-day business operations was laid bare. He is in charge of a team of 1,000 employees in 5 East African countries, all of whom he now has to lead from this small space in his house.
I move around a hell of a lot, but the thing is I'd be interacting with teams, walking and sitting in meetings, having discussions with people. We used a lot of agile technology previously because I look after the whole of East Africa and therefore we engage with many other countries a lot of the time. But now it's extreme.
But through a voice call there, a video call here, several SMSs, tens of WhatsApp chats and dozens of emails, Apsi says technology is turning out to be the silver bullet in ensuring business continuity in these extraordinary times.
We're going to use the Microsoft Teams platform, and we encourage everyone to get some sort of platform. We believe it's the right one to use because we can share documents, we can chat within that space, we can be very collaborative in how we work. We can move a lot of our shared network and while we worked into that space very, very quickly. But we're using a number of other platforms at the same time. WhatsApp's working, Skype for Business we've used at different times. I think the key for me is to embrace as much technology as possible.
At the Nation Media Group's headquarters, Nation Center, Nairobi, hundreds of employees from different departments have been allowed remote access to the company's systems, even as more staff embrace video conferencing and online information sharing systems, joining tens of companies that are already using different technologies to enable remote working, as advised by the government.
Government offices, businesses, and companies are encouraged to allow employees to work from home, with the exception of employees working in critical or essential services.
Across the world, the situation is similar as more companies ask employees to work from home amid lockdowns and restriction of movements that have turned even major cities such as the Italian capital of Rome into ghost towns. Over the weekend, Microsoft's chat-based collaboration and information sharing tool Microsoft Teams crashed after reporting more than 500% increase in usage.
We have suspended learning in all our education institutions with immediate effect.
The outbreak has also brought physical learning activities across the world to a halt, forcing more institutions to embrace digital learning. In Kenya, virtual learning has already taken off in some schools, both local and international, with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development (KICD) in the process of scaling up online and electronic delivery of lessons for learners, up to 8 hours every day through radio and television. Longhorn Publishers has also availed their online learning platform to learners from grade 1 to Form 4 at no cost in order to keep them busy during this period. In the meantime, challenges associated with the shift to remote working, including new or increased cost of home internet, as well as the risk of leak of sensitive information and data theft, remain.
But as children continue with their learning through digital platforms, it is the extracurricular activities such as playtime where the real danger lies for the young ones, especially when no one is watching. My colleague Lois Wangoi from Eldoret has more on that.
Kevin, the government has ordered the closure of schools and institutions of higher learning as a measure of containing the coronavirus against our children. But how safe are our children back home? Are they observing the measures such as hand washing and maintaining social distances? Here is my report. The closure of schools and learning institutions across the country is one of the mitigation measures against the unhindered spread of coronavirus. While the aim of the closure was to keep the children safe from infection by encouraging social distancing, in most areas the opposite is happening. In Eldoret's Langas settlement, one would be mistaken for thinking that this was a normal school holiday.
Tuwezi shinda kwa mlango juu sisi wenyewe ndio tunatafuta, lazima tuende tutafute ndio watoto wapate school fees, wavae, wakule.
The children excitedly mingle with each other. Adults look on unperturbed. The sanitation protocols like availing clean water and soap for hand washing are not in place. The guardians say having the children home was counterproductive for them.
Mimi niko huku, mtoto unasikia amerandaranda amefika huku, wananiambia mtoto amepitia huku hivyo. Sasa hapa wajanisaidia. Afadhali shule angekaa huko ananawa narudi kwa darasa.
According to the government, the children and students had been advised on coronavirus safety measures, including frequent hand washing and social distancing. In some parts of this town, that is being adhered to almost to the letter. Children are keeping indoors.
Indoor activities like indoor games, chess, computer games would go a long way to avoid crowding and contact.
It will be a loss for us as a country and a government to have released children from schools. Then you find groups of 20 children in the villages and in estates loitering around.
All is not lost though. Some parents have taken up the gospel of coronavirus safety and are spreading it with the hope that the well-intentioned closure of schools does not end up further endangering them. Social distancing, proper hygiene, isolation and quarantine are some of the key public safety measures put in place by the government. But some of these changes require a behavioral change, as Eunice Omolo has been finding out. Eunice?
Yes, Lois, across the country, Kenyans are adopting a change of behavior in concerted efforts to contain the further spread of the virus. Take a look at how individuals, communities, and institutions are joining in the campaign.
Before you get into the house,
It's a step-by-step demonstration of hand-washing by Karen Ninga, who has taken upon herself to teach her neighbors, their children, and the community in Kibra on the importance of hand-washing during this time when the country is fighting the global pandemic.
She has taught us how to thoroughly wash our hands. It's not just about dipping your hands in water. And the goodness is she has done it so thoroughly to the extent that our children have learned how to do it.
In an area where running water is a challenge, she devised her ways to ensure that her family and community are protected.
Where do I get running water from? And we don't have water here. If any we have, maybe it is sometimes controlled and you don't have it at all. So I decided to do something for myself, for my family, so that we protect ourselves from getting this disease.
Homesteads and households have to embrace behavioral change like hand washing to ensure that the virus is kept at bay. Meanwhile, as universities have up to Friday this week, at Mount Kenya University, step-by-step measures have been put in place to continue ensuring that the students and the staff continue to observe mitigation measures even as the students leave the school in batches.
For the corridors, entry to any reception, there are bottles of sanitizer with a notice that sanitize your hand so that in case you don't spread, improving the hygiene in general. All our staff that work in the lab, we have also had a session with them, ensuring the benches, the door handles are cleaned on a daily basis.
Lifts have been grounded since the first case of COVID-19 was announced in the country as a measure to ensure the 1 meter distance between the students and staff is observed. People are encouraged to use the stairs. Hand washing at point of entry is taken with the seriousness it deserves. Sanitizers have also been provided for the community, and due to the scarcity of the now much needed item, the varsity under the medical school prepares the sanitizers that are strictly not for sale but for the use by the members of staff and students. Training is also offered on the correct use of the sanitizer.
Rub them. Start with the back of your hand, both sides, and then come.
By Friday this week, all students will be outside the school premises and they have been urged to stay safe by exercising social distancing.
The other public safety measure put in place by government is isolation and self-quarantine for those who might have traveled into the country or come into contact with potential victims. This individual explains the rules of isolation and challenges therein.
I was in New York, and on the first day that they announced the first case in New York, I stayed there for a day, and then I moved to San Francisco. And while I was there 2 days later, they announced again that there was a case. I didn't come into contact with any cases myself, or did not. None of the, even in the neighborhoods where I was perfectly fine. But even then I was like, I have understood that the incubation period is about a week or more. And so do I come home and it lipukas while I'm home? I have small children. I have an 8-year-old and I have an 8-month-old. Does it make sense for me to come and be, in the same space as them? My mother is an older person. I had learned that older people are at even higher risk. But even more importantly is that she has a condition. She has an underlying condition, which means if I were to expose her, then she's even more at risk. I got a flat somewhere that is a bit secluded, that does not have lots of people.
We were like, okay, we need to know if he's fine. If he's not, we deal it with urgency, and at the same time not compromising us. Of course, it was scary, especially on the day they reported the first case and he was still in isolation. And I remember I called him and I said, "Are you okay? Do you feel anything funny?" Yeah, it was scary, but it was necessary.
So I stayed in self-isolation, and my last day was Sunday. And on Sunday I came home. And in the evening, the president made an announcement that said, everybody stay at home if possible. I'm concerned in hearing that there are young people who are still going out, who are still going into bars and places like that. And I really would encourage them, this is not the time. Nobody in that pub is going to miss you if you are dead. I think people need to understand. It can get so bad that the medical facilities can't handle it. Italy has the best medical facility in Europe, and right now they're chock-a-block. The system just can't take it. Accept that short-term inconvenience of a prison because of the fact that in the long run, all of us are going to be in a much better place.
Even with these measures in place, the government is still faced with another hurdle in the fight against COVID-19, the spread of false or misleading information. But before that, now I'm handing over to Smriti for more stories.
All right, thanks very much, Eunice and the rest of the team. We've got to take a quick break here on NTV Tonight, but do stay with us because team coverage continues in just a moment. Indeed, Lillian Kiarie will bring us the details of the threat of misinformation, and also our consulting editor, Joseph Warungu, will bring us the government's options. More in just a moment.
Nyaji wa Kenya, hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water, apply a small amount of soap, rub palms together, rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between, rub nails on palms, rub the back of each hand, rinse with clean running water, and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
New Blue Band Mayonnaise. Made from natural ingredients with omega-3 and 6 to enjoy long-lasting freshness and natural taste unlike any other mayo. Grow healthy and happy kids with New Blue Band Mayonnaise.
Do your gums hurt?
Yeah.
Does your toothpaste contain sage, eucalyptus, myrrh, chamomile?
All that in one toothpaste?
Yes, try Colgate Herbal. Colgate Herbal contains nature's best herbs and Colgate's fluoride technology to give you strong teeth and healthy gums.
Ah, Colgate Herbal.
Let's go. Colgate Herbal for strong teeth and healthy gums naturally.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Hi there. Selena! It's great seeing you getting so much value for your money.
Well, it's important to save as much as you can.
You save everywhere. Except for here. This is where you're throwing money down the drain.
How?
On these cleaning products.
Impossible!
Harpic 10X. While other cleaners flow away, Harpic 10X's viscous formula in only one round of application gives you sparkling, clean toilet. Harpic, 10 times better cleaning than other cleaning products.
And great savings too.
You are jeopardizing my relationship with Richard.
Here you are, you hypocrite.
How much money do you want for that video, Becky?
I'm going to enjoy watching you suffer.
Someone just sent me a video on WhatsApp.
Mimi nataka pesa hii nyumba. Otherwise mimi nitafunga hii nyumba saa hii.
Unajua vile msichana wangu anakutamaningi. Kwanza hii debu yako.
I cannot complain. Unajua ni maupire. Na hii maneno ya kuniita bwana kulia uache. Nitage kush. Unaona vile nimetengeneza madevu vizuri.
Welcome home to Amani Rich, the place of peace. Invest in Amani Rich, the place of peace. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
Thanks for staying with us. Team coverage continues on NTV tonight, and the spread of any false or misleading information with regard to the coronavirus can no doubt be dangerous. But Lillian, really, how dangerous can it be?
Yes, Smriti, the fight against the virus is also facing a different threat: the spread of false information or fake news. The government is not taking those engaging in this lightly, and already some arrests have been made as all efforts continue to be geared towards ensuring that the public gets correct, accurate and timely information on the containment of the virus in the country. Now here is my report.
Even before the official communication of the country's first case of COVID-19, the government had to contend with the spread of fake news on the same. On 2nd March, the government denounced as fake news an audio clip that was circulated on WhatsApp claiming to be an official press briefing on the handling of 60 cases of the virus locally. It was information termed as not only insightful, but designed to cause panic. The government promised to arrest and prosecute individuals found culpable. That promise came to pass soon after. DCI officers on Sunday arrested Elijah Muthui Kitonyo for what they termed as spreading fake news. The 23-year-old had, through his Twitter account, implied that the government was misleading Kenyans on the real status of the virus situation in the country. If found guilty, Kitonyo is liable to a fine not exceeding 5 million shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 10 years.
The people who continually share fake news or give this news, I think the first thing they have is they want to gain traction, they want to gain retweets, likes, and then eventually drive traffic to their websites.
Oh, hey there. Hey, I don't know if you can see
The identity of the country's patient zero was also the subject of further fake news, causing a woman falsely identified as the coronavirus patient to clear her name, but not before the issue getting the attention of the government.
Fake and alarming videos have been forwarded to the DCI for investigations, arrest and prosecution of such individuals.
The pandemic has provided individuals with the opportunity to profit through the spread of false information, some ostensibly to cash in through sale of false kits, others to simply cause confusion by misleading the public on available prevention of infection. A common disinfectant has been labeled as being effective against corona. The authors of these false news failed to reveal to the public that the term coronavirus contained on the label refers to a broad category of viruses, which includes a number of different respiratory illnesses, one of them being the common cold. The human coronavirus referred to on the bottle is not the same as the new one, which was recently named COVID-19 by the World Health Organization. But what signs can people look for when they're trying to discern fake versus real information online?
When you receive anything, of course, verify from reputable media organizations and then verify from credible sources such as the WHO, Kenya, KNH has been doing that, and then from the government spokesman page.
The government has emphasized that there are only 2 channels permitted to give updates on the pandemic: the Ministry of Health at MOH_Kenya and the government spokesperson at spokesperson GOK.
Joseph, the jury is still out on whether these efforts by government to contain the virus are bearing fruit.
Well, Lillian, the government has been cordial and systematic in explaining to its people what it's doing to contain the spread of the coronavirus. It's yet to bear its teeth. But what happens when things get really ugly with the pandemic? And how hard will the government bite? Well, I've been exploring the options.
The shutdown is always on the table because depending on on how we see the progress, depending on how we monitor the situation.
That's one option, which is the last resort: shut down the country or parts of it. China did it, Italy has done it, so has France. Another option is the Public Health Act, which is where we're at currently. CS Health Mutahi Kagwe has already invoked the act, which allows him to do quite a few things.
He or she, whoever the office holder is, can decide to prohibit house visits by people as a way of trying to contain the spread of the disease. So essentially it's a bit of curtailment of normal rights. So you can do that. You can order quick interment of corpses. If say it's something that is causing people to die and the corpses become infectious, you can order they be buried quickly. If, for example, it's got a center, an epicenter, he's empowered again to declare that everyone leaving that epicenter first be tested.
Option number 3 is the Public Order Act, but it has limitations.
The question will be, do we have the right kind of health support systems to manage the same? Because declaration is one. Do we have actually the capacity to respond effectively?
Option number 4 is state of emergency. It's extreme, and we came very close to using it in full 38 years ago.
The roads were deserted and everyone walked with their arms raised high in the air with the ID card clearly visible to the security forces that had been deployed. It was the 1st of August 1982 during the attempted military coup. It's the closest we've come to a national emergency in post-independence Kenya.
If we are going to have cases where it now peaks over 1,000, then you can have now the situation whereby you need now to declare a state of emergency.
But the president, even if he was to declare it, can only declare it for 14 days. If he needs to extend it beyond that, then he must go to the National Assembly.
Clearly, the government doesn't want to go that far. And as long as we do these things to try and stay safe by keeping coronavirus at bay, then government will stay cordial. But if things get too hot and the government loses its cool, it will be lockdown.
I think if you wanted to declare a lockdown, you may have to, because of the rights that it would require for you to curtail, they would have to be very careful on how that lockdown is defined. A person who is dissatisfied with the declaration of a state of emergency can't go to court and still challenge it.
Are you protecting yourself from the virus? Are you heeding advice from the government and experts on how to keep safe? That's what we asked you, and this is what you told us.
Na maji ambayo kila mara mgeni ambaye anatembea pale lazima aoshe mikono yake. Mimi na familia yangu ni mimi tu peke yangu ninatoka town, lakini wenyewe wako kwa nyumba.
Mwananchi wa kawaida hajui na hana ufahamu bora kuhusu hizi vitu ambazo zinastahili atumie na ajikinge dhidi ya hii COVID-19.
Hata tukiambiwa zinafaa zikuwe hizi, sio sisi tena ati tuna pesa tumetenga za kununua hizo. Serikali inafaa ijue namna ya kulinda raia wake.
Nimejiandaa kwa kufuatilia zile mambo ambayo tulielezwa na serikali, tuwe tunanawa mikono kila wakati, tuzuie mambo ya kujiguza nyuso zetu.
Tukikaa nyumbani tunaweza kuwa tunatorokea corona na baadaye tukute kwamba watu wanakufa na njaa na masaibu mengi ambayo itakumba. Hiyo mambo yote iwe inashughulikiwa ili mambo yote isikwame kama taifa letu la Kenya.
Tunaweza kaa almost 3 days, watu wasafiri, watu sijui wanaogopa ama nini, hatuelewi. Sasa unaona kama sasa hizi gari inakataa kujaa. So unaweza pata mtu mmoja for 30 minutes. So hapo ndio kazi imekuwa ngumu. Pia kuna wengine ukiambia nao mikono, mwingine anakataa.
Sisi tunataka serikali watuambie tu kitu ya ukweli, waache kutusumbua na hii maji kuosha mkono kila wakati na sabuni, kuharibu sabuni bure. Kwa sababu hii ni kitu nakuja kama homa.
Wahudumu wa afya wakuwe karibu kabla mtu hajaingia, apulize. Tuone kama mwenye atakuwa nayo ahudumiwe na wenye watakuwa sawa waendelee na safari.
Thank you so much for sharing your comments. And now, Smriti, it's back to you in the studio.
All right, Joseph, thanks very much. And of course, thanks to the entire team that put together our team coverage on the coronavirus pandemic. Some great reports there and of course great insight exploring some areas that perhaps needed in-depth reporting. That's what we do on team coverage right here on NTV every Wednesday at 9 p.m. All right, we've got to take another quick break during this broadcast, but as always, there's plenty more to come.
New Blue Band peanut butter. Made with 100% pure peanuts. And a good source of omega-6. Grow healthy and happy kids with New Blue Band peanut butter.
One, two, three, get it. Where the B-boys at? Where the hip-hop at?
Toto, where's mommy?
Today's a toilet day.
What? Oh.
Selena!
Toilet day?
Tomorrow we're hosting a party and it's a matter of my reputation.
It's a toilet, not a white shirt. Even if you spend your entire day cleaning with bleach and detergent, it still won't be party ready.
Impossible.
Challenge. Harpic 10X.
Even if you use bleach and detergent 10 times, they won't give you the same sparkling clean toilet that Harpic 10X will give you. Wow!
Harpic 10X. Harpic, Kenya's #1 toilet cleaner.
If you're looking forward into investing in real estate, Saiton High Yield Fund is for you. It has worked for me and I can see my money grow daily. The entry and withdrawal of funds is a reality.
Invest in the Saiton High Yield Fund today and stand to earn attractive returns of up to 14% per annum. Email Saiton at sales@saiton.com or call them on 0709 101 200.
iAbiri is a solution that gives you the power to book a ticket to your destination at the right time and the right price. With a choice of over 35 bus companies, iAbiri gives you the power of choice to easily and conveniently book your ticket to all major destinations. Whether you're traveling for a social function, business, work, or a romantic getaway, iAbiri will get you there. Download the app or log on to www.iabiri.com or call us on 0709 215 215 to book your ticket now. iAbiri, your smart travel partner.
When you're facing stubborn stains, you're always in a fierce fight, especially when others are fleeing away. However, with ClearSoft, I can make it so easy.
ClearSoft iko na 3 times particle energy to particles to blue husaidia kutoa mastain ngumu ngumu na ina enzymes za kulinda nguo zako ndio ziachwe zikikaa fresh.
ClearSoft kicks out stains kimateki.
Serious?
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Welcome back, and now it's time for the business news, and I'll be driving this agenda tonight. If you have a loan with a bank which was current as at March the 2nd, you are now eligible for negotiation with your bank for more favorable repayment terms for a period of up to 1 year. This is the latest attempt by the government and the financial services sectors to prop up the economy as the business environment takes a hit from the disruption caused by the coronavirus. Julian's Amboko with more.
A week after the government designated £500 million shillings as a stimulus package for the tourism sector, which already is taking a hit from the spread of the coronavirus, it has now looked in the banking sector to give additional firepower to invigorate the economy, which already is experiencing a slowdown following concerns around the grave uncertainty of the COVID-19 virus.
Banks will seek to provide relief to borrowers on their personal loans based on their individual circumstances arising from the pandemic.
So all the banks here will address the issue about the loans, whether they are personal loans, SME loans, large customer loans today, to reschedule. The governor has spoken about the period of 1 year, or to be able to look at moratoriums in the period for which they may not have funds.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has also intimated that measures touching on taxes and subsidies could be on the way as a means to provide a buffer for the economy.
We are also looking at other areas where, from a fiscal point of view, we want to see what we can also do to support our people and our country during this difficult time.
Late last week, mobile money service providers reviewed charges levied on transactions in a bid to enhance the uptake of digital currency so as to mitigate the spread of the virus. The central bank this morning announced that all cash that will be coming out of banks will be quarantined for at least 1 week. Julians Amboko, NTV.
Now, the Nation Media Group is taking bold steps to ensure that the country remains up to date with timely information at this critical time. Combating the spread of the coronavirus is pegged on access to accurate information, and the Nation Media Group will now ensure that consumers have access to their trusted newspapers at their doorstep as they adjust to working remotely. The group's managing director for the newspaper division, that's Francis Munywoki, says that consumers can now access the electronic paper at discounted prices.
Information is an essential service, especially during this challenge of the coronavirus pandemic. We've established a special discounted price for our electronic paper, which is Kenya shillings 500 for an entire month. So our subscribers will be able to access our Daily Nation electronic paper for only Kenya shillings 500 per month to ensure that they continue being informed, even in places where they are not able to leave their homes to go and buy the physical paper that we deliver to the consumers every day. In addition to that, we've also put in place mechanisms to ensure that we can deliver a physical paper at the doorstep of all our consumers wherever they are in the key urban centers around the country.
Now, 2 days after the government directive on school closure and travel restrictions, later the ripple effect has been harsh on businesses. The prevalence of the COVID-19 has put up a dark blanket on the economy. This begs the question, could Kenyans survive a lockdown?
The coronavirus on businesses has clearly now started being felt, and with each country across the globe taking up drastic measures in order to forestall the spread of this virus, the resilience of Kenya's economy is clearly being put to test.
For instance, those distributing supplies for schools such as food and the transport providers were abruptly put out of business. But where the country's economic uncertainty lays is in export earnings, which are now hanging on a thread. For instance, the horticulture sector, which contributed over 150 billion shillings last year and is one of the top foreign exchange earner, is being crippled.
Sales for the flowers have gone down by close to 70% as we speak. We command about 40% of the market share in Europe, so Kenya is the dominant supplier of cut flowers to Europe. A lot of flower farms have shut down production altogether and export. A lot of them are doing between 20 to 30%, and that cannot sustain the workforce. A lot of growers are actually cash-strapped.
In Naivasha, workers embarked on dumping ready flowers meant for export. Seasonal workers' contracts were terminated, with the sector reportedly losing millions of shillings each day. In Maridadi Flower Farm, over 1 million stems of roses, which were destined for Holland, withered in their damp composite site as the heap rose by the day.
We employ about 150,000 people, and therefore those jobs are at risk as we speak.
Currently, we are producing about 200 to 230,000 stems a day, and they're all going onto the compost heap.
The tourism sector, which last year raked in more than 160 billion shillings, is another one suffering, with bed occupancy reducing drastically. The national carrier continues reporting losses from the grounding of hundreds of its key flights. If the situation would escalate, the worst case scenario would be the government putting the capital on a lockdown or even calling for a state of emergency like the recent cases in Spain. Could Kenya's economy survive a lockdown?
Go into a full lockdown, it might hurt the economy even more, because unlike in Europe or in US, where people have massive amounts of savings or insurance or social safety nets, most Kenyan workers really are operating on daily wages.
The ripple effect will be felt by many.
Some landlords have obtained mortgages from the commercial banks, so they still have to service those mortgages. Now, unless those banks tell those landlords that there's a moratorium on paying those mortgages.
The government will be in the hot seat.
We believe that if we worked with government, we can be able to salvage this, because the government is owing us a lot of money in terms of VAT refunds. It's owing us close to 8 to 10 billion.
Lillian Kiarie, NTV.
Well, COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli has asked employers and businesses not to use the current coronavirus crisis to unduly sack or target employees. Atwoli is urging employers to work closely with unions in the event that layoffs become necessary. He's also asked the government not to declare a shutdown, saying the situation is still manageable and that a shutdown may hurt the economy even more.
I want to thank Kenyan employers, particularly those who have put some mechanism in place to address this issue of coronavirus as per the government's advice. But I want also to caution those unscrupulous employers who might exploit this situation to dismiss or to sack or to retrench workers without prior involvement of the social partners, trade unions included. We don't want Kenyans to dramatize the situation on coronavirus or to take advantage as if it is the only outbreak that we are witnessing. We have people who do piecemeal jobs, casual employment, seasonal jobs, contracts, and temporary of nature that they are paid on daily basis. We have members of business community who are in SMEC, these small and medium enterprises, and we don't want them to lose their daily bread simply. We are dramatizing the whole thing as far as coronavirus is concerned.
All right, let's take another break. Do stay with us. I'll be back shortly.
I am pleased by just the simple little things of the little things of life. And I promise if you take the time, you won't be looking for too long before you find this little secret of mine.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready, dog. Get ready. Ready, set, jump to the rhythm as hard as you can go. Steady,
For a better tomorrow, don't forget to do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate every night.
Be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them. William Shakespeare. Registration for InterSwitch Spark Kenya 2.0 Science competition is on. and closes on Sunday, 10th May 2020, ahead of the national qualifying test on Saturday, 16th May 2020. To switch a future, visit www.interswitchspark.com and register your best 6 Form 3 students for a chance to win 2.5 million Kenya shillings worth of university scholarships, including monthly stipends, and the bragging right as the best STEM student on InterSwitch Spark Kenya 2.0 Science Competition, powered by InterSwitch, transaction solutions you can depend on.
Discover the all-new Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Lotion, specially formulated with Nivea's Deep Moisture Serum and Africa's natural cocoa for 48-hour deep moisture. Glowing, radiant skin with nourishing cocoa lotion from Nivea. Get 48-hour deep moisture from the new range of Nivea body lotions.
You are jeopardizing my relationship with Richard. Here you are, you hypocrite. How much money do you want for that video, Becky? I'm going to enjoy watching you suffer.
Someone just sent me a video on WhatsApp.
Mimi nataka pesa hii nyumba. Otherwise mimi nitafunga hii nyumba saa hii.
Unajua vile msichana wangu anakutamaningi. Kwanza hii debi yako.
I cannot complain. Unajua ni maupire. Na hii maneno ya kuniita bwana kulia uache. Nitage kush. Unaona vile nimetengeneza madevu vizuri.
Welcome home to Amani Ridge, the place of peace. Invest in Amani Ridge, the place of peace. Call us today on 0790-300-300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
Two people have been quarantined in Kisumu and Kakamega counties after exhibiting symptoms of the virus. A businessman who travelled into the country from Dubai has been isolated at the Kakamega Referral Hospital. In Kisumu, a Briton who has been in the country for 20 days is in quarantine at the Aga Khan Hospital. NTV's Zakis Mwasame with those details.
The isolation of a patient exhibiting symptoms like those of the coronavirus at the Kakamega Referral Hospital sent chills among some of those in the front line in the battle against the virus. Some of the hospital staff fled for fear of being infected. The patient is a businessman said to have arrived in the country on the 15th of this month from Dubai. He told the police that he started experiencing a sore throat. He started coughing 2 days ago and decided to seek treatment. The patient who has since been quarantined at the county's infectious disease unit that was recently put together. His samples were taken to the Kenya Medical Research Institute for further analysis. The nurses' unions have now raised concerns about the level of unpreparedness to deal with the virus at the counties.
Kuzi waliona kwamba they are not prepared, wakatoroka na wakamwacha huyo mgonjwa. Kwa hivyo Kakamega is not prepared to handle any emergencies arising from coronavirus disease kama itakuwa. Kama huyo mgonjwa atakuwa confirmed, nobody has taken record of the patients who were inside there, ndio wawe followed up. And Nairobi kufanya training. Na wauguzi ndio the first contact of the clients who are coming to the hospital.
There was a case. And in Kisumu County, Governor Nyang' Nyong'o has also stepped up measures to curb the spread of the virus after Briton, who has been in Kisumu for 20 days, was quarantined at the Aga Khan Hospital. The governor has ordered that burials be made. The governor has ordered that burials be held within 48 hours. Open air markets have also been closed. In the meantime, the Salvation Army Church in Western Region has suspended all gatherings indefinitely as a way of stopping the spread. Zakis Masame, NTV.
The owner of Beracha Academy in Karatina and the school's head teacher were arrested for defying the president's directive to shut down all schools to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Standard 8 pupils at the school were attending classes and preparing for national exams. NTV's Melita Oletenges reports that their parents too could be in trouble for allowing them to attend school.
Martha Wangai, the director of Beracha Academy, and the school's head were led away by the police for failing to comply with the president's directive to close all schools following the coronavirus outbreak. They are in trouble for calling in the Standard 8 pupils to the school for remedial work. The children were not dressed in their school uniform so as not to raise suspicion.
Sisi kama security team tumeamua director na head teacher kwa sababu wanakiuka sheria directive ambazo zimewekwa wapate kustakiwa na wadili na sheria vile ilivyo vile inatakana.
Throwing all caution to the wind, the pupils were required to pay 200 shillings each daily as tuition fee in preparation for the national exams at the end of the year. The government says it will come down hard on those who flout directives on keeping the virus at bay.
Wasifikiri wako mbali, wasifikiri wanajificha. Mkono wa serikali ni mrefu, na kama wanaendelea kusanya watoto kwa marooms wakifunza, wajue tutawafikia, na kipimo hicho tunapimia hao wengine pia tutawapimia hivyo.
Residents have now been urged to keep a sharp eye and alert authorities of any such cases that may endanger their lives. Melita Oletenges, NTV, Nyeri.
And next up in this broadcast, it's the sports news. I will be leading that, so don't go far.
Nyaje wa Kenya, hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water, apply a small amount of soap, rub palms together, rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between, rub nails on palms, rub the back of each hand, rinse with clean running water, and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
Molfix breathable surface developed with Airsoft technology is very soft and provides the best Molfix skincare.
I've found the best diaper for my baby's sensitive skin.
All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
When you're facing stubborn stains, you're always in a fierce fight. Clean Soft kicks out stains. Kimateki.
Together stay free wherever at.
No, we can't stop. We wanna taste the feeling. Nothing can ever bring us down. Taste the feeling.
Through the automated parking system, you can now pay for parking in 3 stress-free ways. Using M-Pesa through the USSD code *486*12#. or using cash at the CAPS payment points located in the parkings, or using your preloaded CAPS A card. No payment will be done at the exits.
You are jeopardizing my relationship with Richard. Here you are, you hypocrite. How much money do you want for that video, Becky? I'm going to enjoy watching you suffer.
Someone just sent me a video on WhatsApp.
Mimi nataka pesa hii nyumba. Otherwise mimi nitafunga hii nyumba saa hii.
Unajua vile msichana wangu anakutamaningi. Kwanza hii debi yako.
I cannot complain. Unajua ni maupire. Na hii maneno ya kuniita bwana kulia uache. Nitage kush. Unaona vile nimetengeneza madevu vizuri.
Welcome home to Amani Rich, the place of peace. Invest in Amani Rich, the place of peace. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
NTV Sport in association with Mozart Bet. SMS NTV to 29990.
To the sports news now. Football Kenya Federation President Nick Mwendwa now says the federation will wait for FIFA's directive in light of the Sports Disputes Tribunal ruling made on Tuesday pertaining to the scheduled FKF elections. In a judgment delivered via a video link amid fears over the spread of the coronavirus, SDT Chairman John Ohaga cancelled the national elections that had been slated for the 27th of March. The Kenyan Premier League has also declared that it will await direction from the World Football governing body.
The same court asked us to do public participation of this document across the country, a very expensive exercise, for 1 month, and we did it. And they agree in the ruling that the participation was good. And then they turn around and say, even though the people participated, one clause in that document, while the document is good, is not okay. That's one. Two, before we share this document was approved by our National Elections Committee, was approved by FIFA and said it meets the threshold, including the eligibility.
Mikel and Trabzonspor have parted ways by mutual consent, the club has announced. Mikel only joined Black Sea Storm as a free agent on a 2-year deal last summer at the end of his brief stint in the championship with Middlesbrough. Now, the 32-year-old played a crucial role in helping Trabzonspor soar to the summit of the Super League this season with 19 league appearances. While no reason was given for the mutual termination of the contract, the club announced that the former Chelsea midfielder gave up his remaining wages. Liverpool forward Sadio Mane has been described as the nicest man in football after he donated to health authorities in Senegal amid the coronavirus outbreak. Mane donated £41,000, that's equivalent to about 5 million Kenya shillings. Mane has previously been involved in the construction of a secondary school and a hospital, as well as donating Liverpool shirts to fans in his home village of Bambali. Mane joins a list of sports personalities who have donated towards helping affected people during the coronavirus outbreak.
NTV Sport in association with Mozart Bet. SMS NTV to 29990.
Mozart Refund, lose one game, get your cash back. Make a decision. Terms and conditions apply.
It is 20 past the hour, and that is where we close NTV tonight on this Wednesday night. Thanks so much for your company. Our sign language interpreter has been Flora Atieno. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Have yourselves a great night ahead.